All right, so welcome to the Natural Balance Masterclass. My name is Neil. Everybody who's here on the Zoom screens, you've all met me. You watching this, not on the Zoom screen, possibly you haven't met me. If that's so, hey. So what is natural balance? Natural balance is my difference. It's your difference. It's my purpose. It's your purpose. Natural balance is what happens when I stop doing and I start being. And then from my being, I listen. And then from the listening I've received, I take an action from my being, which is my purpose. And how do I know that? Well, how I know that is to the degree that I trust and that I accept and that I'm taking the steps in faith and that the fruits that are showing up are beneficial and they're contributing, first of all, to my life. And then, second of all, they're also contributing to other people's lives. And if that's happening, if people are being inspired around me, I'm on purpose. Natural balance is a global movement that's expressing through the hearts and the minds of the people. The heart, our entire body is a receiver. Natural balance is coming through the heart. The heart is where it's coming through, but it's not the origin. The origin is God, is source. And then from God, from source, we are picking up that essence. And then that essence is transmitted into our natural expression of our true self. And our true self is showing up as a unique perspective to each one of us based on our upbringing, based on our programming, based on literally the environment we're in right now, but also the environment we grew up in. And so this God essence comes through us, and then it has the flavor of Andrea. It has the flavor of Myra. It has the flavor of Yannick. It has the flavor of Neil. God coming through us has our flavor, but it's not us. It's something greater than us. And to the degree that I resist that which is greater than Neil to express through Neil, is the degree to which I'm like resisting, like, first of all, alignment with God, and then second of all, alignment with my divine purpose. And we can make decisions from an egoic place, or we can make decisions from an aligned or a purposeful place. What do egoic decisions look like? Well, first of all, what is the ego? Well, the ego is an identity that consists of perception, it consists of expectation, it consists of opinions, it consists of my truths. So these four components the ego uses and then constructs an identity based on perception that it's received, based on an expectation it has of what's to come, based on a my truth that it has that it's like holding on to, like it's like, well, my truth is that you're a cat. Well, who that actually is a human. Well, that's not my truth. Well, right. So you can create an identity based on a my truth. You can create an identity based on an opinion. And usually the ego is a conglomeration of opinions, perceptions, expectations, and my truths. And then when we take a step, when we take initiative from my truth, from an expectation, from a perception, or from an opinion, it's a step from the brain. It's a step that I'm calling, and it's it's out of alignment with the true self, and it is in alignment with God's purpose. Source always uses everything for good, even when we're making a mind-based decision. So we can beat ourselves up for it in the moment, but long term, it will be used for beneficial. Even maybe if it's not for our lives, it will be used to benefit somebody else's life. Right now, I'm gonna get into like the big picture. So, what's the big picture? Well, the big picture is what I am creating, and the big picture is this. It's an ungrounded thing that it is specifically ungrounded because it's an idea that isn't physically manifest yet. And the big picture is this. It's in the field, so everybody can tap into the big picture, but not everybody articulates the big picture the same way. And this big picture is inherently ungrounded, and we can get we actually can get mesmerized with this big picture. So you can think of it like a jigsaw puzzle, where literally there's the whole jigsaw puzzle, and then if I can like literally look at the full picture and be mesmerized by it, which is like all of creations. I can be mesmerized with creation, but there's an energy that's coming through that's beyond what I can see, and it's that energy that is source, and it's the fascia, and it's the connective tissue. And if I be mesmerized by the full picture, I can set myself up to miss out on the energy that's coming through the picture. The feeling that is being married with the seeing, which actually creates the experience. Because to see and not to feel is to not experience. So to both see and to feel is to fully experience. I want to open it up. Is what's coming up? Go ahead, Andrea.
Uh, I'm hearing articulation coming through you in an awareness that's recently come through regards things with the money mastery class and um abundance, heaven on earth, and something new that's coming through. I'm becoming aware of with these words and natural balance here now is it was clear to me, it was clear to me, Andrea, and who I am, that I'm a source of those energies coming through. And when I sometimes have been attached to what it looked like or thinking that I am responsible for it all. And now I'm starting to let go of that and seeing that it manifests through others, like that there can be a big picture and I'm allowing it to come through. And now I'm noticing that others are actually using those seeds. And before I thought I was committed to me taking action on them. And now I'm noticing the energy that's coming through, which can be like seemingly very interconnected to collective consciousness. And so it's not apparent to me sometimes in those moments that that's what it is. It feels like it's like right here. So when you're talking about, this isn't the source of the receiving, but it is in some aspects in, the body, the heart. I think I've been having a challenge grounding and accepting that it comes. I'm just with you, and this is just new. So I'm aware. I'm becoming aware of it, and I'm attuned to hearing more coming through you and here.
So you just like there's this is the thing, like when do I even take action? Like how do I even know? Like when do I even take a step? It's this concept that giving is better than receiving, and this is, let's say, with I'm gonna use presents for an example. So when I use presents for an example, it's like the give I've got to make sure that those people are present. That way I can be present. So I've got to give presents to those people so I can be present. And if that's the energy I'm coming from, is probably not the best time for me to take action. But there's this other energy space where it's like I'm present, I'm fully in the moment, in alignment, and then from this space, I can take initiative to share the presence that I am, and I don't need to. Like I'm literally just like so present that if like I actually don't even need to share the presence that I'm being, but because you're here and you're asking for it, like yeah, I'll share something. Completely different energy. So from the second energy I just spoke from, where it's like, oh, I'm already whole and complete. I've already received. Now from that place I can give, but even then I don't need to give. It's just like um, the action is coming from uh, Neil asking the question, what would love have me do here? And then listening and then receiving and then taking an action from what I've heard. Um, and that is Neil's recipe specifically. And I'm curious what your recipe is for when you're at a decision point of left and right. How do you make a decision? Who would like to share first?
Well, I'll say a little something, and I'm just going to talk off the cuff because I don't know, what if I'm even going to make sense, but I feel that a lot. I mean, I feel like, we're energy. I mean, that's all we are is energy in a physical body is what I think. So we have a soul that radiates different energy. So if how you're feeling resonates, because we have a vibration that comes off of us. And so that's why you can walk in a room and kind of feel the energy of what's happening to with people around you, or you can, when I know a lot of people may not do this, but to me, like when I meet somebody, you can kind of feel a little bit of their energy or your aura around from you. So I guess I'm always trying to feel people when I meet them. Which I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not, but it just happens. So I know if I'm in a calm place, then I'm going to give off that better energy for people. And I think, people are going to be more receptive of what I'm saying. And so if you have this inner peace and like you said, start with the heart, but it comes from that's all, connected. And if you have like this calming or a more peaceful feeling or more grounded, then people are going to feel that energy and they're going to be more receptive and they'll calm down more. And you can actually get someone more comfortable and feel more trust with you when you have that peace and that calming energy. Does that make sense? Am I totally off?
I don't know. Parts of it made sense. Yeah, what I
Just
really
my
here's what I heard. So what I heard was that like based on how you're being, it like that energy is felt by the other person. And then when you're being peaceful and when you're being loving, the other person listening to you can actually is more receptive to what you're saying, just by like the peace and the love in your body. That's what I
Yeah.
heard.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I don't know if you've ever heard this, but we give off an energy field around us that is about 3 feet, maybe 5. Have you ever heard that?
I have.
Yeah.
My theory is we can extend it.
Yes, exactly. And that's why when you think about somebody, and I don't know if I'm sure you've had this happen, it happens to me a lot. I'll not have seen somebody in a long, long, long time. Like in just some random person that's not even like a family member or anything. And all of a sudden I'll think about them. And then within the next day, I hear from them. And it could have been, who knows, a year or so since you've heard from them. And that's why we have like some type of energy that's universal. And that's why when you can pray for somebody across the other side of the country, when you're that prayer, that's what prayer is like sending your thoughts it's an energy that we're connected with that is inside of us. God lives inside of us. So when we're praying, we're sending that energy to whomever, and it can not just be directed to one person, but it could be just anything. That's why, having prayer days and all that stuff is so powerful. So I'm just saying that, and I may be off of what you're trying to say, but that's just what I know and what I feel and what I've witnessed and what I've experienced. And that's when you're talking about, the head, the heart, the chakras being balanced and being open. And it's praying to God, which, goes up and out. So we're sending that message out. And it can be within that field of meeting somebody. I mean, we have this connection and you're how many thousands of miles away from me, but we had that connection because, I've met you personally and I haven't met the other two, but, once you kind of learn that person or have that connection of meeting them, there's always going to be some kind of an energy connection somehow because you've met that person and you've got to know, I guess, being around them and feeling their presence. And I'm probably going off too much right now. I probably should have quit while I was ahead. Talking about, but it's all energy because that's all we are. We're just energy. That's what
I'm curious, what's your take on like the auric field specifically? Like, why do we have it and what's the use for it?
Well, I think, with having an aura is like what I'm saying is like we do. I mean, it's our energy field around us. So that's our aura. And that's like you can sometimes meet a person and you can feel their aura. Not everybody does it, but I've had that happen with me, with people saying, they see my aura. So that aura is our energy field. And it's just, how when you come in contact with somebody and you feel their energy. And it's not always going to be positive or negative. It's just, something that when you meet somebody, and it can change, because I know I've met people, and I see them and I prejudge, which is something I'm working on, is prejudging people, because once I get to know them, then it's almost like God puts them there going, here I am, I'm going to prejudge somebody. And then that person who I prejudged ends up being somebody I really, really, really like, that I really connect with. It's just, so and I'm not saying that, when you come in, you're going to feel some energy with somebody. I'm just saying that we have that energy connection with people. And it's amazing how you can come in contact with some people and change their feelings or their mood or their reactions a lot of times by how you feel about, how your energy is.
Is that complete or is there more?
No, I'm complete.
Thank you. Yannick, do you want to share something?
Oh, I'm just enjoying following along and seeing, where the others are coming from. My answer to your question wouldn't have been that interesting.
What's your answer to my question?
Well, you'd have to refresh me on the question. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you get to a decision point, when you're taking a left or you're taking a right, how do you like choose going left or going right?
Well, I mean, for me, it's I usually pretty much know where I'm going, but and that could reflect being a creature of habit, but I historically tend to stay in my head. My childhood relationship with, basically my mother was in her heart, and basically my father was to some degree, and my father was in his head, uh, except for when he was a rageaholic, and so he treated my mother physically and emotionally abusive before I don't remember the physical abuse, so he stopped it before I can remember, like when I was 4. But I learned, even though I came under basically the agreement, a lot of constructs and agreements of trying to be there for my mother, I really couldn't be in some regard, with my father. I didn't, and there was a time when a really bad time when occasionally I would hear them, I would certainly hear him yelling at her, sometimes in my person, sometimes several times that I'd be woken up, but there was one time it was really, really, really bad, and I was 5 years old, and my father was a black belt, and my mother was afraid of him because of the abuse that she underwent before I was born, and during, and so I already naturally had that fear, and I also had basically recurring nightmares as a child, in my earliest memories, recurring nightmares. But when I was 5 years old, I heard this, and it's like it was just so awful, and I snuck, I wanted to stop it, and 5 years old, I snuck to my door, and then I like got to the door and like kind of frozen, and then like okay, and then I opened the door, and this was a second story, 4 bedroom, plus a bathroom. There's a master bathroom too, but anyway, the landing would be about maybe 8 by 10 or 8 by 12, 8 feet wide and 12 feet across, and my door was catty corner to theirs, and So I snuck out, and I started heading towards the door, but then my father started yelling again, and I got scared, and he went over towards his study, and I wound up in his study, which is on the back side of the master bedroom. So, I wound up never leaving there. So I wanted to rescue my mom, but at 5, but I didn't after that. And my father basically left her when I was 9, so or separated from her, and that's a whole nother story. But so I'm not sure how I got into this mess, but basically I shut down my heart. And because my father was like a know-it-all of know-it-alls, very high-ranking military intelligence, put the red phone on was in charge of the NATO committee to put the red phone on the desk of the presidents of in the Cold War before I was born. I basically I was always in my head, and that there's a sorrow there underneath all that, and for me, there's a sorrow of a connection, not only to, I guess, to my heart, but well, I didn't even think about it like that, but the connection to God and source. And so when I get there to that, when I could touch that sorrow, it's like everything's like connected, and it's great. But I don't habitually live there or operate there, unfortunately. I've been working on it, and it's like it's kind of like they talk about the oil, saving up the oil, the virgin saving up the oil. Well, you have to purify yourself first, and then you have to have the oil to get to get to have enough oil. And I can't remember I think it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes or 3 hours and a half or something like that, that those oil clay, I think they were clay, but those oils, so basically it winds up being like 36 to 42 hours, I think is what it was, for 10 oil stands. You have to be able to maintain that awareness, and I'm challenged there even still, but so I try to access it as much as I can, and your environment has a lot to do with that.
Say more about the environment. If you feel so called, and if you're complete, that's perfect. What do you want?
Oh, well, like what God created and said was good, nature, or what man has desecrated, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess you grew up in a farm, but I grew up in suburgatory. That's what I call it. And but in until I was 9, I lived in the suburbs, in a sprawl, basically the end of the sprawl in the suburbs of DC. And there's like cornfields across the street from us, from the entrance to our neighborhood, on the little 2-lane country road, and then there was woods and with a stream inside in between the neighbors' hoods, and there were parks, a couple of parks, and I used to run as far as my feet would take me as a little kid. Didn't I just had to be home at dark, and that was like 10:45 at night in the summer, in Maryland, and play kickball, or other things. There's always, pretty much for the younger kids anyway, there was kickball, pick up kickball every day in the summer. So, I'm rambling, so I don't remember if I answered it or not.
Do you want to share more, or do you feel complete, Yannick?
Oh, I'm complete.
You brought up something which is the something you brought up is this aspect of unbalance, and the only reason we ever get unbalanced is to regain balance. And there's so often when we get unbalanced, we start beating ourselves up for it. We're like, why did we do that thing that we knew was gonna have us like our energy be off? And it is only the judgment that we have on ourselves is what's needed to step into balance. It's that it's literally resistance to the unbalance, and it's literally judgment of being unbalanced is what has us be out of balance. See, the truth is we're never out of balance, and unbalance is an illusion, and it's a perception that we choose to resist the shit out of. And when we resist the shit out of being unbalanced, we're unbalanced. Because balance is acceptance. It's cooperation. It's connection, and how the things are connected and cooperative is accepting of the parts. And in my journey, I want to like excuse me, I want to expedite my spiritual process. Like, I'm speaking from my ego, but I'm including my soul. My ego just wants to like be done already. Are we there yet?
That's a challenge. Yeah, challenge to die to yourself. That's he who seeks to save his life shall lose his life. And
Yes.
let me tell you, most everybody in the church is there seeking to save their life, but they're not following the the prophets or Christ, and laying down their life. I mean, it's I think the most obvious um, of the parables that Jesus talks about is, he's talking to the rich young ruler. The rich young ruler says, "What must I do to fall to enter the kingdom of heaven?" He says, "Well, sell everything and follow me." Basically, get rid of everything that you're counting on for your identity and for your um, fulfillment, and follow. Take up your cross and follow him. And that's not a popular message. But of course, the ruler of Rome, Caesar, he didn't do it. But he convinced the pagans, that they'd been through that before. I mean, the pagans had, the Roman gods were very close to the Greek gods, who, Rome kind of copied in a lot of respects. And, also, there were other gods that were pretty much the same aspects of war and fertility, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, harvest, with the other pagans that were around. But then, there was, Caesar had made himself God. One of the Caesars made himself God before the Council of Nicaea or something like that. So it's just a matter of deceit. What happened in a week? Where did they get all the priests? Wouldn't they have to go to the same temples of idolatry that they already had established? They basically got canceled that week.
Well, and today those are the temples of idolatry aren't, I don't know if the exact definition of idolatry, but it's like very similar to modern day churches where where it's programming, and it's programming specifically to do the right thing. And if you don't do the right thing, you're basically your soul is screwed essentially. And
Well, yeah, but the thing is, it all goes back to the judgment of the individual. Because I've seen a lot of crooks, talk a lot of, God, you know, basically talk BS because of, where they're coming from. But I've seen a lot of crooks in the church. And but the thing is, I forgot there's another point I was going to make that I'm sorry I cut you off, so I'll let you go.
oh, that's perfect. This what's happening in this space is what it's designed for. It's designed to it is nice if you can raise your hand, but if you are inspired to plug something in, please do so. And in a couple minutes here, in 5 or 10 minutes, I'm going to open up a space that's a space for presenting offers. So if you have an offer that you want to present, you'll have 3 minutes to present an offer. And that's coming up in a couple minutes. So if you want to fill into that or get something dialed in. And for right now, this thing of like, there's saving the physical body, and then there's saving the spiritual soul. The mass majority of collective humanity has a big focus on saving the physical body and seeing how we can extend the life of the physicality. I'm for this to the degree that it's organic and a natural timeline. But there's this unorganic technological timeline being presented, where it's the keeping the body alive through mechanical and robotics that are outside and inside the body. So micro robots that are in the blood, that are in the organs, and that saving of the physical life, I think, creates a loss of the spiritual soul and a fragmentation of the spiritual soul. And then on the other timeline, the focus on the growth of the soul purely, and having less regard for the physical body, but really having an orientation and a focus on the soul's well-being and longevity and connection and loving way of being. That focus on saving the spiritual soul, I think what happens is that the physical body's health reflects the degree that the soul is healthy. And if the soul is like, so I'm going to go to the other scenario now with the robotics. If the soul is fragmented and it's looking to extend its physical life, because from that perspective, it thinks that it is the physical body, and it thinks that if the physical body dies, it dies. That is already a fragmented perspective from the true self, because the true self is eternal and never dies. And having the perception that the true self can die is already a misperception, which then I'm declaring has an effect on the physical body. And then now looking from the organic, natural timeline of alignment and just naturally being balanced, saving the spiritual soul rather than focusing on saving the physical body from this place, as the soul is loving, as the soul is compassionate, as the soul is peaceful, the cells in the body become loving. The cells in the body become compassionate. There's a flow that occurs in the red blood cells, where the blood flows and oxygen is distributed. and it's a direct byproduct of the way of being, of how we're being inside, and also where we're coming from. Do we need to keep this physical body alive, or am I okay letting this physical body go because I know I'm not this, I'm actually something that is eternal beyond this physical dimension. And where I'm coming from and what my focus is it on physicality or is it on spirituality? They are intertwined, and you can't affect one without affecting the other, but the primary one you're focused on is going to overflow and affect the other aspect. So that's the piece I wanted to put in. Are we focusing on physicality purely, or are we focusing on our actual soul that's in the physicality? And with that, who would like to make an offer?
I'd be happy to make an offer.
All right, Bradley, do you need to prepare, or do you got everything you need to let it rip?
Yeah, I'm ad-libbing or going with the flow, so I don't need to prepare, but I think I can let it rip. And I might also comment on what you just shared first, if there's space for that.
Yes, please.
Yeah, which is that yeah, just this idea. I mean, it kind of ties into what my offer is about, right? So I'm going to call what you just described natural law of consequences, or divine, right? And so that ties right into the offer that I would make, which is that I encourage people to consider being out from underneath the matrix and writing a new way of being in the world by speaking into existence what they're up to. So like if you have a license, for instance, that's plugged into the matrix, and you know that that's restricting your ability to communicate freely the truths that you know inside of you because of that program, and you want to step outside of that, then I help people like bridge from the licensed world to a free world. They can bring their God-given gifts and their knowledge and their information to other people without fear, without the need for a license, without the need to be tied into the matrix or getting permission from the government. And so what that is it's a new well, it's not a new jurisdiction. It might be new to some people's mind, but it's outside of the man-made laws, rules, and regulations, which you guys were kind of talking about earlier on the call. I'll call it the Pharisees and the Sadducees back in the day of Yeshua. The politicians and the rule makers that piled silly laws and ordinances and things on top of God's laws, on top of their, Yeshua's father's laws, and made it ridiculous. So that people couldn't, supposedly Yeshua couldn't walk through a grain field on Sunday and pick the kernels off the top of corn, right? So, by the way, another permaculture lesson, right? That's where all these natural laws come from, how nature works. And so we got removed from that in the matrix by agreeing and putting ourselves under Pharaoh's laws, today's government, and signing up for their licenses. And when people wake up from that, they want to transition out of that. I have a bridge for them. I help them create new language, new documents. And so my offer is about a time to come talk with me for an hour, where I learn from you what you're up to and how you might want to use private agreements to transition your legacy, to move assets out of the matrix, or move your practice or your business out of the matrix and into a realm where you can do what you want without having to report to the government in any capacity, including, well, the IRS is not a government organization, but if it were, including the IRS, all the agencies, you can like go snip and cut your ties from these things, because that's all facade once you step into God's laws. And so I'll put the information in the chat on how people could sign up to my private membership association called Prosperous Legacy Advisors. And this is where we have many different ways for people to get involved in learning about these things and transitioning what they're up to in life, the God-given gifts and talents, moving from the matrix into the new earth. So Thank you. We didn't talk about a timer, so I don't know if I went off on that, and I kind of mixed up my comments with my offer, but
Yeah, I think you went like 4 minutes, so it works.
perfect. Thank you. Thank
You're
you for that
welcome.
opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like what you're doing and what you've got set up is a PMA, this this private agreement. It is through that I'm actually like literally living in a regenerative earth waking village. I'm fully investing all of my time and energy into permaculture and the growing of food and herbs, which are minerals and produce minerals that have actually capacity to think, that have us capacity for our organs to work, that is through these vitamins and minerals that come through the food, because the food is the medicine. It's not like we need medicine. It's like we need nutritional food. And when we have nutritional food, that nutritional food has vitamins and minerals that has us have capacity to awaken, because we have the minerals and the nutrition to do that. And so I have an invitation to come and spend 7 days
And the desire.
and that.
You got to keep that in there too.
Yes. So I'm inviting you to rural Costa Rica to come and spend 7 days, 5 days in silence, and doing a food fast. And during these 5 days, there's also 6 hours of meditation per day. This is split up into 2-hour meditation segments, with activities that are intimate and slow moving and mainly self-guided. Because of being in this fasted state, we're also in a vulnerable state of introspection, of going inwards. This invitation is the up level ceremony, and the dates of it are: start date is December 27th, 2024, and the end date is January 2nd, 2025. So we're fasting, and we entered the new year in a fasted state in 2025. The minimum donation amount is $333 to secure your spot at this event. And I'm looking for 4 more people to be part of this process. And so my information is going to be in the description of this video, which is going to be on YouTube. So if you're on here and you want to find out the details, you can access this video on YouTube on The Experience Podcast and find the details in the description. And with going from, all right, so there's 5 days in this fasted state, and then boom, 2025, that's the year of the inner fire, of having radiance within the body that overflows this vessel and then overflows out and affects others. So if you're interested, you can check the description. And that's complete. And now I think we have room for 2 more offers. Who wants to make an offer? I
I'm
saw
not
a clap.
ready to do that yet, so
Okay.
I don't have one put together yet. I'm kind
Okay.
of stuck in this rehab facility and where the food supply and the hospital and the rehab facility, after having two shoulder replacements. I totally know what you're talking about spiritually. It's bleach is what they're doing to my body with the food they're giving me.
Yeah. So this is a space to make offers. It's a space to network. It's a space to meet new people. It's a space to come and express your gift and your purpose. I invite you, if you're watching this, prepare an offer and join this upcoming Monday and be prepared to present an offer. Andrea, I saw you had a clap hands. Were you acknowledging something, or do you want to make an offer, or what's up?
I am acknowledging the offer coming through you, Neil, and you, Bradley, and the gifts in us all, and very much so appreciating this time and space set aside for the offerings. And so, I'm open and accepting that coming through for another time, and appreciating that I am fully capable of making an offer as well, remembering that and the gifts that have been coming through who I am. And just to give a taste and update of what those have been are some masterclass in development of moving through um, being alone and remembering that we're all one, and how that has served me, and open to serving that to others, and also eliminating hate, illuminating love, and realizing that that was a piece of the problem that I thought that I was constantly living in my heart, and interfering with receiving that love and offering that to others. So those things are in development, and so I'll calling and be prepared for another time. And thank you very much for y'all's gifts being offered
You're
and being a
welcome.
model and leader in those.
And I'm just gonna put in my little 2 cents, but so since I'm really new to all this, I mean, I was just introduced to Earth Waking, what, a week ago, I think it was, Neil? Maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, probably two.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. So, this is all new to me. So I'm still just trying to figure out what all is going on and happening. And, of course, each time I on one of these calls or, participate in something, I'm learning. So, that's something that in the future, I'll have to just, see what's going on and put something together, though, eventually, yes. But I'm not ready now, of course. Still in the learning phase.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for being here. It's really incredible. Just connecting energetically with you wherever you're at, wherever your way of being's at, wherever your physical body's at, wherever your soul is located. It's nice to energetically feel another person, to feel another soul coming through a human body. There's nothing to do. There's nowhere to go. Right now is the time. And if you would like something to practice, this upcoming week, something to practice might be acceptance. And with that, good night.